My name's Peter Stanton. We're back in my garage, in the little shop in my garage, and we're going to be working on the final assembly of the millstop fixture here. Finally got all the parts machined, I think, and we're going to be assembling it and seeing how things go together. As well as I made a bunch of other parts this week. It's been a busy week for me working on some of this stuff for this fixture. Work's been kind of slow at my other shop, my big shop, so I was able to work on a lot of these parts this week. Let me get the camera off this tripod and I'll show you what's happening with all this stuff. Okay, these are the parts I've been working on. The key for the bottom of the fixtures, the clamps to hold the parts on the fixture. I still got a few more of these to make, the little round ones that hold the dog bone shaped pieces, but this is all the clamps other than that. I put some holes in this piece here so it can be screwed down. I cut a couple of notches on that clamp, and I made this whole end cap out of a piece of 17.4 pH that I happen to have lying around. It's going to end up going on here on this part of the fixture to cover the end of the shaft, seal it off from shavings and such. So that's that. I shrank this the shaft into the end of the fixture. Here I got a clip from my storage area, or I did that because I have my the rosebud torch over there, so I did it over there. I'll be putting that in here. You'll see that in a second. And I'm going to seal off these holes, but first I'm going to assemble this kind of a dry fit of all this here, and then if everything goes together, I'm going to take it apart. I'm going to fill these holes up with I'm going to try this JB Weld stuff I got over here and put it in there. Kind of, when that dries, file it flush. Like I say, this hole wouldn't make any difference actually because it doesn't intersect anything, so it wouldn't really matter. But this one intersects the groove here for the Lembra seal. That this piece actually is the piece that's going to be bolted to the fixture that goes in that groove and rotates on the fixture and keeps the bulk of the shavings and coolant out of the bearings. And then of course there's going to be what's in this box, a bearing seal, rubber seal that goes on the shaft there. And so I got to kind of seal off at least the top part of this. This is where the shaft seal presses into this counterbore here, and it might not make too much difference, but I'm going to try to seal off this so anything doesn't get down in there that I don't want in there. So do that after we fit this together, and if everything works, then we'll be doing that, and doing that first, and then do the final assembly with the grease and the gasket sealer and everything. I also ground these special tools I'm going to need. This one's kind of a front and a back chamfering tool, as well as a spot drill to spot drill a few of the holes in the parts. So that's kind of a combination tool there for that. And then this is the tap drill, a special tap drill for the 1/2-13 thread with a chamfer built onto the tool, a step drill, so that I don't have to have a separate countersink or chamfering tool or whatever for that, because I'm trying to get the whole setup to work out for 10 tools. This is my kind of crude list of the 10 tools here that I'm going to attempt to do this all with. The reason for that is because I don't want to make any manual tool changes, because the tool changer on this little Haas that it has only holds 10 tools. And so I want to be able to do everything without doing manual tool changes. Anyway, that's the plan. So let's get to this assembly and see how that goes. And if everything goes all right, then, like I say, I can seal up these holes, and then we can put the final assembly on this fixture, and then take the chuck off of this rotary axis, and we're going to mount a backing plate, and then the fixture gets mounted on there, and the tailstock end of it, or the bearing support end, it goes down here. And then we can start lining up to do some machine work on this. So let me get to the assembly here and see how that goes. It's a rainy day outside today. Nasty rainy day. So we're going to try to shrink this shaft into the part today. So we stick the dial indicator in here and we look up at the dial bore gauge. The 0 is set to the 1 3/4. The shaft is about a 1/2 thousandth under 1 3/4, about right there. So we got to go something a little above 0. Bore is pretty straight. This is up and down. So we're going, it's the top of the bore, and down here is the bottom. So it's pretty straight. So that's good. So we've got to expand this at least above 0. You know, it's somewhere up in here to get this shaft to go in. Says it's 2/1000 big. Should go in there easily. Now let's see if it does. Okay. So that's it, right there. Shrank in there. It's loose right now. See, so it should tighten up as the aluminum cools down. I can actually maybe line the key up a little bit here. Doesn't matter where the key is actually in the shaft, but leave it alone, let it cool down. And so that's shrinking the shaft in there. Went real easy. I drilled a hole through the middle of this so that air could vent out, because I was concerned. I've done this before, and you get an air pocket behind there and it blows the shaft out of there. So I drilled a little hole all the way through so it could let the hot air out through this hole. Shaft completed. Shrank in there. It's getting warm. It's tight now. Cooling it down out here with the water faucet off of the outside on the wall here. We're going to test things and just see if it goes together without any binding or anything. So let's put this Labra seal on here. In the final assembly, I'm going to put some sealant between here, but right now we're just going to screw it down with the screws just to test, to see if it's anything's hitting here. Make sure we don't have any interference. I modeled this out in the computer and did all the machine work with the dimension of the model, so should be fine. But just to make sure, I'm going to do this here. Now when this thing's assembled all the way, this oil seal, which will be pressed into the bore here like this, will actually be in here making a seal on this shaft to keep the grease and everything in the bearings and keep any coolant that makes it by this from getting in there. But right now we're not going to put that on because that's kind of like permanent, and I don't want to do that till I get ready for the final assembly. But we're going to do this. I've already slipped the bearing races into this part, so we got to put the first bearing on here. I'm just going to take this nut off of here. Put this one on here. Then the part, this goes this way, put this down on this side because this groove matches this here. So we're going to put this on here now. And then the other bearing goes in here. And then one of these washers like this will go on there. And the nut like that. I put a little bit of a tension on this. Not much, just a little. That would be the bearings. I already put the key on the bottom here. It fit fine. It was pretty close, almost like a light press fit into there, which was good. So that looks pretty good so far. Then this cap's going to go on here. And the 4 screws, just snug it down a little bit, make sure nothing's hitting here. And there'll also be, I'll put a little sealant on this face too, between this cap and the body of this to, of course, keep coolant from getting in there. So that's the screws snug down. Whole thing spins real nice. No play in the bearings. Okay, so everything seems to fit together good. I'm going to take it apart here and seal up these 2 holes like I talked about here with that JB Weld stuff. If that works, we'll see. And then we'll do the final assembly. See this, when this is tensioned, where we get the right preload we want, we're going to bend up 2 sides of this washer against the flats of the nut, so the nut can't back off by itself. That's why the washer here has a key. Of course, has a key in it to engage the shaft. It's on the other side here. Turn this thing around so you can see this key engages the shaft here, and it will keep the washer from spinning. So when the washer's bent up on the nut, of course, it'll keep the nut from turning. That was remember in the last video, this thing was made. So that looks pretty good. I think that's going to work. Put these back in the bag so we don't get any debris on them for the time being. So let me seal off these holes here and we'll get back to the final assembly and put it on the machine. I'm going to take this sealant, we're going to put a little bit here. On this thing here, just enough to make a seal. Don't need very much. Next step is to take the chuck off the 4th axis on the rotary table on the Haas and mount this right here, this backing plate on there, and the fixture mounts onto this side of the backing plate. This side goes on the. Got to clean this up. This thing's been sitting around so long, got a little bit of corrosion. This taper mounts on the rotary table. It has an A5 spindle taper on the front of it. And mount it on the machine. See how it runs. Okay, first we got to take the chuck off here. Requires loosening these bolts. This is a set true chuck, so it's got these adjustment screws for the run out. seeing that all right. Yep, okay. See how parallel we are as far as to the x-axis. Wow, pretty good. I'd say within less than a half a thousand. It's not bad. Okay. So there it is. Got that far. Next video we'll start machining that whole thing the way that the CAD model shows. And getting close to actually machining real parts here. So that's it for this video. Next video we'll machine the fixture.